So what you're doing right now is looking at how things get done, how you measure. And by this measurement as well, too, you should be able to give yourself. That's one question I'm going to ask us of you. We're going to have 2 breakout sessions today. After you learn about these indexes, I'm sure you just last 2. The next question I'm going to ask you is what does this tell you now in terms of you going to government? Assume yourself you're going to become an advisor to a minister or even a minister or something like that. How would you use these matrices? Imagine somebody who's you're going to government. After 1 year, 2 years, people are going to be checking you what they're doing. So how do you use these indexes or indices to set up your own agenda of how to run the government? So we'll have that first breakout, and then I'll then talk about how you set up the agenda in government, and the third thing you're going to do, and then that's what the bulk of the rest of the class will be. So I'm going to talk to you about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Can somebody allow me share my screen? That should be automatic, obviously, or you don't have to share my screen. Once you log on, that should be your standard protocol. Whoever is lecturing should have access to share their screen. I don't have to. None of the others should be able to have to ask for it. So please, Gary, can you put that as part of your protocol? Count down words and write it down for everybody. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You can share.
So I'm going to show you. Yeah, I'm going to show you SDGs, and it's a short video. And this is from United Nations website. So you just look at this very briefly. About SDGs. Okay, let's go. I hope everyone can see this.
Yes, we can.
Can everyone hear?
Yes, we can, sir.
So I think everyone can see this. I'm going to pause for a minute and I want you to see this at a glance, so you see the whole thing now. So I'll pause here. So can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see the SDGs 17 goals before the millennium, there was what we call the millennium development goals. So these are 17 of them, and you find that many of the countries, nations particularly in the global south and about Africa, South America, and Asia to some extent, many of the countries, they are developing this, and they do a report every year showing their success in achieving these. So you look at this: no poverty, that's the goal. No, number 2, 0 hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. Number 4, quality education. Number 5, gender equality. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. 7, affordable and clean energy. 8 is decent work and economic growth. Number 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. 10 is reduced inequalities. 11 is sustainable cities and communities. 12 is responsible consumption and production. 13 is climate action. 14 is life below water, that is talking about looking after the nations and the land. Then 15 is life on land, so nature and preservation of the environment. 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Then 17 is partnership for the goals. So these are goals, and but they also become matrix because every year the countries have signed up for this. They have programs for it, and then they have the ways in which they also do an report showing how much success they are having in achieving it. So that's SDGs. I'm not spending too much time on that because I trust that you go and look for them and find out more about them for yourself. Yeah. Any questions on that? Any questions on SDGs? Any questions, please do let me know. Any questions on SDGs? Okay. All right. So now going to go into continue the discussion today. So we've just talked about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So that's something to go with, and something to go with and think about that. Now let's go into. We're going to go into government effectiveness index or fragility. Well, there's a fragility of state index, and then we'll go to the government effectiveness index. So fragility of state index, I put the two together. This is one you probably never hear much about, but fragility of state index, deals with the question is how strong or is a nation as a country. This is not just government now, but of course it's the actions of government that produce either strong countries or weak nations. So there's a fragility of state index, which I'm sure no one here has probably heard of before, but that's fine. That's part of why you're in this school, so that you know concepts, things that much beyond what anyone else knows, so that your language will change, your thinking will change, and how you communicate will change. And it makes it possible for you then a better place to make great impact when quality arises for you. So fragility of state index. What is fragility? Fragility is the sense of something that is if you say something is fragile, that means something that is liable, susceptible to damage, cracking, breakdown, or break up. If something is fragile, that means it's very delicate. In one sense, it means something that is very delicate. In the other sense, it means that something that is very, very likely to break because it is just, it's almost breaking up. So if you say, for example, don't touch that TV, it's very fragile. That not because TVs are normally fragile, but because we have the hook hanging it on the wall is no longer standing properly. Or the table is fragile, so you can tell somebody, please don't lean on that table. It is fragile. It's broken in one place already. If you lean too much on it, it will just fall apart. So what fragility of states index measures is the strength or weakness of countries. And that therefore gives a prediction whether they are likely to fail or survive. So anyone that is easy to break up is a problem. The more a state is fragile, the more it's likely or it's either already a failing state or a failed state. That means that state is likely to collapse or break up, or if it doesn't collapse or break up, it's just a mess. Not much is happening. So the fragile states index measures the vulnerability of states, and whether they are in pre-conflict, active conflict, or post-conflict situations. And when you look at this index, then you realize that many countries are in that state. So let's take a few countries as examples. You have Somalia, you have Yemen. Those countries, as you see, they are at the bottom of this index, in terms of they are highly fragile. Afghanistan, many of those countries are actually failed countries already. Many of those countries are actually failed countries already. That means they're not just, and then there are others that are failing. One of them is probably many of the countries that some of the countries that you relate to. So the higher the value of the index, the more fragile the state is. So that's how that works. So what does the index measure? They use 12 elements to then measure the condition of the state at any given moment. So this is not in any straight orders, but the and these are what we call the risk indicators. In this case, the risk indices or risk indicators. Number one is, what is the state of the security apparatus of that country? What is the security apparatus? The defense, the policing. What is the state of security apparatus? So of course, if you know the security apparatus is fragile, it doesn't work, then of course it means that that state is tending to be high risk. The second indicator is fractionalized elites. In other words, typically if you have the elites in the country, in any nation, they can make or mar a nation. Many countries, you have what I call faith elites. In many of these fragile countries, that means the elites are fractionalized, they're broken up. Elite coming together to say, let's build up this nation. Let's create strong institutions. Let's pursue sound goals and priorities. In the case of fragile nations, the elites are actually self-driven, self-interested, and everybody's pursuing their own agenda, and no one is looking after the affairs of the nation. So if you have a situation like that, that means the fragility of that state goes up. Another one is group grievance. If you have significant groups within the nation, a nation that have grievance against the nation, against the other, again, is fragile. Economic going south, I mean, going down and down and down. That's another risk factor. Even so, there's economic development of somebody, but it's not what they call it. It's not distributed. It's not shared. But it seems to be that some areas are developing more than others, then that's on economic. So that tells you already that that stage is from there. What else? Human flight and capital drain. Must have human flight and brain drain. If you see a country which some people are living control, and the brain. Another state, the state is us. It's one state, not really our own state. We have state, then that's a risk factor. Public services, the state of public services, to buy service for the public, then this is risk factor. Then US and rule of law, is it very strong or very weak? It's very weak again, showing that this is a high risk factor. Pressures, some of the population to their look after. They have huge countries that have a time bomb. I use Africa as a continent as an example. The proportion of youths in Africa is the highest in the world. I think right now I can't remember the exact data, but it's almost as if more than half of the population of Africa and yet to come will be youths. Now, ordinarily, that should be an advantage because you have young people ready to work, But the challenge is that there are no jobs, enough for all of them. No jobs, not enough school. So therefore, it becomes a graphic time bomb generally in many African states, just as an example. Refugees and IDP, significant numbers of refugees and IDPs within the country or the citizens of that country, either displaced internally or they are displaced outside, they are finding refuge elsewhere, then that obviously is a high risk state. And then of course, it's a state that is either prone to or happen to be less an element of foreign intelligence, then that's also what it is like. So if you look at Yemen, for example, Yemen and Somalia are at the bottom of the list, or the top of the list in this case. You'll find that all of these things relate to them. So I'll pause for a minute for you to reflect on this and to ask any questions, or just think about these elements. Do you see them? Can you relate to them in your own country or in countries that you're interested in? Yeah. So I'll give you a minute to go to the chat room and reflect on this for a minute. Just I'll go to go in there. This is the last word.
Is while we wait for Dr. Mark to come back on board, we can reflect on the slides we just saw on the chat room. Yes, Dr. Mark, I think he's having slight network glitches. He'll be back shortly. Dr. Mark, can you hear me, sir?
Can you hear me now? Can you see my screen now?
Yes. I think your vocal, so your audio was a bit shaky, okay. So we missed you out a bit.
Okay, so effectiveness, less effectiveness, to capability of producing desired results. When something is effective, it means it is doing what it's supposed to do. When it's effective, that means not quite sure what's ineffective means. It's not produced what it should produce, and it's very, very poor. So that's what we are, what we're doing, what this government index is talking about. So let's explore this concept of effectiveness. If I say something is effective, I'm just trying to put it in a way that we can relate to this better. So if I say something is effective, what I simply mean is probably if using percentages, you can say that's what we're talking about is that thing is probably that if it's or that person, that means you're saying, oh, that person is functioning at very high levels. It's like you give that person 100%. Oh, wow, you're doing great. You are A class. If you say something is highly effective, okay, you're saying maybe B level, highly effective. If you say it's effective, C, just a pass. But if you say this something is just a little bit effective, let's say government, that means you're not feeling them much. If you say it's completely ineffective or incompetent, that means it's zero. It's a waste of it. But it's even better than that. I now make my consideration. Something's a waste of space, or somebody is a waste of space. That means the level of effectiveness is not. You can also say something or somebody or government is a waste of money and resources. That means they're not producing anything. It's actually negative. They're not doing anything. They're actually wasting, they're wasting energy and space. That's the concept of effectiveness. Now, if you want them to take this forward, I ask you a question: is an effectiveness an issue? Effectiveness an issue. Think of the government or a part of the government in your country, for example. In your choosing, think for a minute, any part of the government in your country or any country, do you think they're effective? I'm going to pause for a minute so we can have a conversation around this. Do you think they're effective? So think about it. I'm going to ask everyone to speak. So please, we're going to ask everyone to speak. Everyone in class. So Emanuela, you go first. Think of one aspect of your country.
Okay.
Just choose one. Yeah.
Okay. In relating to the state of security in my country, I'll say the government is highly ineffective. That's due to the rate of insecurity, Fulani headsmen here and there, and all the Boko Haram. So I would say the government is highly ineffective.
So it's highly ineffective.
Yes.
Okay. 5 being high. If you're ranking them 1 to 5, or 0 to 5 actually, what would you give them? So what would you score them?
I'll give them 1 or 0.
1. Okay. 1 over 5. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you. So let's go to who's going to go next. Elizabeth.
Okay. Good evening, sir. In terms of unemployment, I'll say my government is total waste of time and resources. Minus 45%.
Okay. Evidence.
Because now there's an high rate of unemployment. The government do not seem to provide jobs. We have to look for jobs ourselves and find a way of finding ourselves and giving ourselves jobs opportunity through obtaining skills such as being an entrepreneur, stuff like that.
Thank you. Roots?
Thank you, sir. So I would consider my where I come from, Angola.
Okay.
My country of security apparatus. Maybe I want to pick only one, sir. That's just one.
No, you can't. No, go ahead. You can choose more than one. Yes.
Okay, so I'll just speak about security apparatus and then and even economic development at some points. I would say the security is totally ineffective or incompetent. And then I could, place little effectiveness on the and even economic development aspect. Just now for Angola. Yeah. So from 1 to 5, top marks.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, 1 to 5. I mean.
Yes. So from 1 to 5, top marks. Security apparatus is 1 or 0, and then even economic development maybe about 2. I would give them. Yeah. So that's just.
Thank you. Let's go to Gary. Gary, so let me hear from you. Hello.
All right, sir. So I'll put context on security, education, and social amenities. For security, I would say they are ineffective. I wouldn't say highly ineffective, because if you were highly ineffective, I think the entire state would be insecure. But I think some people still enjoy some certain level of security, so I would say they are ineffective. Then for the education, I feel they are effective, but they still need improvement. I won't say they are ineffective because they have produced, scholars and people that can stand out in their various field of endeavors. Then for social amenities, I would say they are highly ineffective.
How long? I challenge you on that one.
Okay.
I challenge you on that. In your country, how long does it take to get a first degree?
It takes depends on the course. If it's a regular course for like social sciences and education, it's 4 years.
Yeah. Just go school. Just choose one. And, yeah.
All right. Yeah, 4 years.
Don't do it. Depends. Just give. Yeah.
Okay, 4 years. 4 years.
When you're in 4 years, how many people actually graduated in 4 years? That you know.
Come again.
How many people actually graduate in 4 years that you know?
Okay.
How many people actually graduate in 4 years?
Okay, looking at from 1 to 100%, I think 60% only graduate in the 4 years.
Why? It's not, if it's 4 years, why it's not 4 years?
I think due to the continual strike from the
so it's an effective system then.
Okay, so it's
not an effective system.
Yeah, it's not. It's not an effective system.
It's not. In a school.
Sorry?
You're talking, if you are discussing in debating with folks, if you are in outside, you are shouting and you can use very loose words. But what we are teaching you now is how to be specific and precise. Not emotions, whatever you say has to be backed up. And you have to be ready for challenge. So get it. So when you say so highly effective, no, it's not effective. Because what you're and that was that. So just to challenge you when you're speak with data, and be ready to challenge with whatever you say, because somebody has a different opinion about you. That's why you think through. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
So precise and rigorous. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken? Is it Dari or someone else? Okay. All right, let's go for that. So we're not talking about government effectiveness. So which government effectiveness index measures the perception of the quality of public services, the quality of the government apparatus, the civil service, the quality of the government apparatus, independence from political pressures, the quality of policy formulation and implementation, and the quality of as well of the credibility of government's commitment to being what government is. So essentially, this is a sense of we feel that our government is effective. They're in control. That's another word I would say. They're in control in a good way, and they are producing results that you can see. That is, the government is highly effective. So summary. So when you look at this index, I think I showed it last week, but I'm just looking at it again this time around. When you look at this government effectiveness index, I will show you a few countries here. You can see where you can see the picture here. I've just chosen some of these nations on the full list. So you can see almost at the bottom, you can see Zimbabwe, 183 altogether. Now you can notice something very interesting here. When you look at the fragile states index and the government effectiveness index is the more fragile the state is. It's almost that's why I'm discussing both of them together. If you look at you find that Yemen and Somalia are some of the most fragile states. And here you also see that the governments are most ineffective. Venezuela, in South America, it's the government there is very ineffective, super ineffective, and yet it's one of the highest oil producing countries. Zimbabwe is 173, Angola is 168, Nigeria is 167, Mozambique is 1, Cameroon is 155. So you can see all of that. And then on the other side, you see Singapore again, which is an incredible outlier. So this is very interesting. So you can see that there's what you feel on the streets concerning these countries. The data bears it out. Network gone again. So what we're going to do now, I'm still going to show you that. So that is government effectiveness. So that means we need capacity development at all levels. That's one of the reasons why we are doing what we're doing. We want to develop the capacity transformation, not just small capacity, big capacity. So you are in a very good space, in a very good class. We need to develop capacity at individual levels. We develop capacity and organizations. So we want to work with organizations to develop capacity. Even the community and different groupings, at all levels, and then the whole government level needs to have human capacity to develop. So that's what we are focusing on in this school. So I'll leave this for a minute. This is talking about how effective government runs, but I'll leave this till next time when I come back. So we're going to take what we're going to do now is to have a breakout. I don't think we only have about 6 or 7 people today, it seems. So what we'll do is to have a group discussion. So I will just silent. I'll not be listening. I want everybody, those are here. What now that you have seen all these various indexes, now come up with your own list. Assuming you were making a presentation to any other government in Africa, in Southern Africa, Angola, Mozambique, Nigeria, Ghana, what would be your 10 priority, not your indexes now measuring them, but it's the flip side. What would be your priority? So let's assume, and by God's will to come to be so, the president of Congo says, son, I hear that you guys are doing such work, you're doing so much. Give me the 10 things I should prioritize, as my agenda for the nation. What are the 10 things I should prioritize? So I'm going to give you 10 minutes, 10 minutes, everyone to have that conversation amongst yourself and agree what should be the 10 priorities. For now that you've heard all of these things, you don't have to do any more research for the moment to do more research, but just instinctively now work together and come up with 10 priorities that you think countries in Africa, if you advise any government in Africa, Angola, Nigeria, Cameroon, what will be your 10 things you see that you should pursue? Well done. So let's hear your report of your deliberations.
Okay, good evening, sir, again. Okay, so we discussed and we deliberated on 10 things to prioritize as a special advisor to the president. And in no particular order, we said one sector we feel the president should border more on, or should take into consideration, number one, security. Because if the state is not secure, if the people do not feel secured in their place of work or wherever they are, they will not be able to produce much effort or do stuff that would bring about economic empowerment. So we feel the president should look at security. And also we talked about basic provision of social amenities. That is, I feel it is water, land, and basic things that would make us feel human beings. So the third one was skill development and youth empowerment. We feel that if the youth are empowered with skills, that there will not be much of this kidnapping, cyber threats, like Yahoo and all. So we feel there will be less of kidnappings, there will be less of thugs and touts if the youth are empowered. And since the youth have the highest ratio in African country or like African continent, we feel that they should be taken care of with skill development and youth empowerment. Also, we talked about education. If the more literate we are, the more advanced our society would be. And the more advanced our society would be, the more effective the government would be. And also we talked about even economic development. We should not really run a capitalist state in which the richer gets richer and the poor gets poorer. So there should be even economic development. When there's even economic development, the country would grow, the GDP will rise, and everyone will be happy. Also, we talked about employment, we talked about gender equality, we talked about the agricultural sector. This is a major part in which African countries have debated over and over again, especially Nigeria, talking about we moving from agri to fuel or to petroleum, or what do you call it? Sorry, sir. But and knowing now that most cars in the next 10 years or 5 years will stop using petrol, that means if care is not taken, African countries would become more poorer down, we even thought that we can even be safe because would not countries would not necessarily need our products again, and then we will not be stranded. So there's need for us to go back to agriculture. So that's why we think the president should emphasize on agriculture. And also we talked about digitalization, we moving into the tech industry and giving us space to be tech wise or to have tech. Sorry, sir. And the last one was on international affairs and justice system. If we feel the president should work more on international affairs, work on international trade, and also when there's a perfect rule of law and justice system, then we would be safe. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Very impressive. But in this school, we challenge everything. So this is very impressive. But one challenge I will leave with you is if you're thinking of, this is what we're not going to now. If you're thinking of a state of a country and South Africa generally, you've got to think of which are the things that a lot of things you have said are very interesting, but most of them cannot produce a better life for the folks right now. So, so you have to think of, layer upon layer. What are the 3 or 4 most important things that if you to do them, it will now create the platform for everything else. So think along those same lines. What are the things that are most fundamental? If you can achieve them, then the others come on. So 10 things are good, but I'm leaving you with that challenge. Now I'm going to talk to you now in the second session about dreamers. Dreamers change the world. Dreams and visions. But we're talking about dreams, but also same principles also apply to visions in the same sense. Dreamers change the world. You will find people that every important thing, every transformational thing in the world started as a dream for somebody. It was somebody's dream that actually eventually produced that result. Somebody's dream, actually produced that result. It's not just now one of the I think one of the challenges that we have in Africa today is that many of the people in government have no dream for their nation. There's no burning dream. It's not something that they wake up, everything is I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. So dreamers rule the world. Dreamers rule the world for good or for bad. I think at the beginning I heard some of you discussing before we started off discussing about what's happening in Ukraine today. Now, for good or for bad, even evil dreamers, they change the world by the force of their dreams. So, for example, Hitler plunged the whole world into a world war because of this evil dream he had of controlling. He had this dream of what they call a 1,000-year Reich. That was he was going to create an empire, that he never seen before, almost in the sense, shall I call it, a replica of the Roman Empire. I don't know what they had in mind. And that empire will rule the world for 1,000 years. That was the dream that drove him. And that dream, eventually led to the whole world going to war. So even evil dreamers, they change the world or they rule the world, at least for a certain extent. So dreamers control everything else, whether they are good people or evil people. Now, one of the greatest challenges we have in life is that we have people in government who have no dream. There is nothing that is making them sleep at night. Was one thing in the corporate world and leadership. One of the questions I frequently get asked is what keeps you awake at night? It's a good question to ask if you're interacting with leaders. It's a good question to ask them, what keeps you up at night? If you were to ask me what keeps me up at night, I can give you what keeps me up at night. Probably many phases of my life, and many phases of things that I'm focused on, And for song, I can give you my dream. What is my dream every day? What is it that that is perplexing me every day? So dreamers rule the world. And so if we take this further, what is a dream? What is a dream? I hope you can see my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Can I hear?
Yes, you can, sir.
You can, okay, all right. So what is a dream? What a dream? You can see that picture. I use a picture of a balloon. That balloon, and not just a balloon, it's a sense of something that is beautiful, vibrant. Everybody can see it, and it's soaring higher up above the landscape. So dreams, what is a dream? A dream is a picture, a mental picture, that is of what the future could look like. A dream is a mental picture, a visualization, a very strong visualization, of what the possibilities in the future, present future, and you can have some dreams are significant, some are insignificant. Some dreams are important and unimportant. Some dreams are possible and impossible. Now we are talking about what's the picture? We're talking about you were talking about it before we class started. We're talking about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. Why? Because Hitler has Putin has a dream that Ukraine should not be an independent nation. That it was a mistake for them to have gotten independence when USSR. That's his dream. Whether you like it or not, you may not agree with him. That's his dream. And it is that dream that he has been pursuing for many years. 2014, first of all, attacked and took Crimea, and now he wants. It's a dream. I disagree with him for that. For example, I think it's a stupid dream. But anytime he has plugged the whole world, he's plugged that part of the country. So the point is this, that dreamers rule the world. And unfortunately, most times it seems as if it's the people who have what I call contrary dreams are the ones that seem to make most impact. So what is the other definition of dream? It's a passionate expression, is a declarative intent, of what the person wants to do, or what the future the person sees. There's a restlessness that if you have a dream, for those who are dreamers, they are restless people. Not in a bad way, they are restless because they're taken up by that dream. So I know many of you know the story of Pharaoh in the Bible and Joseph. When Pharaoh had a dream, that he could not interpret, he was restless about it. He was looking for anyone that can interpret it for him, and he called all his magicians and the wise men don't know who do it. They said, ask them, I need somebody. And it made all of them uncomfortable until somebody remembered that there was a young man I met in jail. The butler remembered this young man I met in jail. Joseph, he interpreted dreams. Although he's a prisoner, he's a foreigner. Pharaoh said, I don't care. I just need somebody who can interpret this dream. Was so restless. And when Joseph interpreted the dream, I then also gave him a blueprint for how to bring it to pass. He was excited. He said, my problem is solved. Now I have my restlessness is solved. And now have an interpretation of the dream I'm trying to understand, and also have a plan to deal with it. So that was done. So dreams and visions is also a strong desire. So that is if you are a leader, if you are going to be successful, you must have a passion, a dream, a restless dream, a dream that will capture your imagination, capture the imagination of those around you, and we keep on driving you. You'll be sleeping and waking up always with that dream. And a lot of people around you will know that's your dream. And in fact, your dream will make some people uncomfortable. And your dream will also make many people comfortable by attracting the right attention. And your dream can also attract opposition as well too, just like he did to Joseph. So what's all this about? What do you think you are doing? You're making us uncomfortable. So dreams and visionaries. Dreams and visions, dreamers and visionaries are both necessary and also dangerous in some sense. Yeah. So why do I say dreamers rule the world? Because realists, those who are always it's not really the case. So let's just deal with it as the case may be. They eventually will serve dreamers. All those who like to just deal with reality constantly. This way it is, let's just manage it, the government is not doing badly. Those people will eventually serve the dreamers. Dreamers rule the world. Dreamers shape the future. The dreamers, by their dreams, they are shaping and speaking into the future. They are catching a picture of the future, which is different from what the realists are seeing. So when we talk about education in Nigeria, I want you to move from just education in Nigeria or security in Angola. Imagine yourself now being given the responsibility to do something about it. So start dreaming about it. I want everyone to choose one aspect or the other concerning your nation or any nation that you're interested in, and begin to dream about one, to begin to think what the future will look like, so because dreamers shape the future of the world. And how do you catch dreams? Because sometimes the dreams do not necessarily come from you, but perhaps you hear it or somebody else gives it to you, or just like I'm trying to push you now to dream. I'm trying to catch some dream. You are in song because we have a dream. Success of nations and government, that the nations and governments will be successful by having people like yourselves being the ones to make it come to pass. So you can catch a dream, can be from yourself, your own dream, just by yourself. You can also catch the dream from other people that you hear their dream, it fires you up, and then you now develop your own passion for it. You can also get your dream from leaders. Your leader, shares a dream with you, and now, if you're serving that leader, you must appropriate that dream and now make that dream your own, because you are working with that leader. So that means you now make that dream your own. That's what happened to Joseph. Joseph heard, he wasn't the one that had that dream, it was Pharaoh that had the dream. But he was called to interpret it, and once he interpreted it, he became restless with it, up to the point where he went beyond his mandate. His mandate was interpreted the dream, but he didn't just interpret the dream, he went and gave a blueprint because he became passionate about it. The 7 years of prosperity and 7 years of famine, and 7 years of depression. So you got to do something different about it. This is what you're going to do. So that advice to do. And Pharaoh saw the beauty of him. The fact that this man was really so passionate that up to the point that he was already solving the problem before the problem became. And so he bought into it, and that was what gave him this position. So when you're an advisor, you are even if you're an advisor, or you are the leader itself, or you are an influencer, in this sense, social influencer in this case, pursue a dream, have a dream. So when you're working with a leader, make your leader's dream your own, because from there you also will go further. You can get your dream from the school, you can get a dream from this group. I'm expecting that out of this song and group, big dreams will come out of it. And then of course you can get your dream from heaven as well too. Although in reality, all the other ones also actually from heaven. But what I mean in this case, you can also have, what I call, a vision, revelation, as a things. So that's it. Now, what about those who have these dreams? I call them some dream holders, those who can hold the dream and keep on talking about it, and those who are not chasing the dream. And like I said, dreamers rule the world one way or another. Whether they are good dreamers or they're evil dreamers, they still impact the world. I remember when we used to fly in those days, when you want to fly, you can carry a whole jerrycan of water or whatever into the flight. It was no issue. But once we had 9/11, some of them now you can only take 100 minutes of water into it, because that man changed the way we live our world. So it was an evil dream, but it changed the way we live our world. So even evil dreamers, they still impact the world. They are bad dreamers. They are dreamers who dream bad things, But because they chase their dream, they pursue, they still have an impact. Now the internet will win some. So, just like they don't always really succeed or don't always succeed for a season. So you get that point now. So dreamers really things we want to do out of the schools. Number one, start dreaming things. And secondly, when you are working with leaders, just like Pharaoh did with Joseph, ask them, what is your dream? What's your dream? You see, there's one of the ministers in one of the countries in Africa. Last time they were having an election, he wanted me to, pray with me, that we need the election. I said, why? What do you want to do with power? What do you want to do with power? What do you want to do with the power that which should give you power? So I said, I'm not going to go to pray to God for you to work. Why? What would God get out of it? What would the land get out of it? So when you're working with leaders, always prompt them, to have, they may not have a dream, but you can prompt them, what's your dream, what's your passion, or then you can come up with some ideas which can then become something that they buy into, then becomes passionate about it. But you yourself make sure that there's always something you are passionate about and you are working on. There's a book I saw the other day, it's called Chasing a Dream, or Working on a Dream. So I want you to then take a minute now. I'm going to ask you to speak each one person now. Name one of the famous dreamers that you know in history or in the world, and what is their dream and what that dream has produced or is producing. Yes, everyone. We're going to take everyone to take a session around that. So who's going to go first? Yeah, who's going to go first? Let me start with you, Dari. Dari, name one dreamer that you can think about immediately, and what dream was that, and how that dream impacted? Dari, Elizabeth, Emanuela, Ruth, and Gary yourself as well too, since you are in this session. Yes, who's going to go first? We just open your mic and go
Okay, so
Ruth,
okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say a famous dreamer was Mahatma Gandhi, and his dream was to make India free through peaceful means.
Good. So that's very good. So what you're going to do, your assignment for today, we'll give you. So you have to, Mahatma Gandhi will be your assignment after your homework, and I'll tell you what we need from you. And that will tie into your own dream for your country. Thank you so much for that. Who goes next? Ruth, go ahead. You in the chat room you mentioned Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, I mentioned. Thank you, sir. Nelson Mandela for me. End of apartheid system, and he wanted to see a free South Africa, as they were under the, a wrong governance from the colonial, the whites at the time. He wanted to see an end to that system of apartheid. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. And it's interesting because Mahatma Gandhi was part of inspiration for Mandela. And also, as well. So thank you so much for that. So who goes next? Yes. Who goes next? Let's do this quickly.
Okay, so we have Martin Luther King Jr. Basically, he was a Black activist.
Okay. What was his dream?
His dream was to see a nation where Black people were free.
You're breaking off. I don't know why. Can you speak into your mic?
Okay. Sorry. He was He was a black activist, basically trying to create a nation where black people could be free.
Okay. All right. So
He was
that
he
would
was
be
a
your
civil rights agent, basically.
okay. So that's gonna be your project. Thank you. Who goes next? Who goes next? Who hasn't spoken? Has everyone spoken? Gary, has everyone spoken?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
All right. Let's just carry forward. So, what are motivations for dreams? Where do dreams come from? Where do dreams come from? Dreams can come from many perspectives. Number one, can come from yearning, something you are just yearning for. For example, somebody can just say, I think somebody mentioned about security, and go like can just start yearning. I just wish the security would get better. I would just wish just yearning for the day when security gets very much better. Somebody just yearning. Nigeria, I mean, how can it be a 4-year degree? You never know how long it will last. It may take 7 years or 8 years in government institution. Just have a yearning that this must end, this must end, this must end. And you are thinking about it, you are talking about it. Ambition, also be an ambition. Oh yes, I want to be the first, I want to be the first, what they call it, the first minister of education. That will change the situation in for example, or the Minister of Security, Internal Affairs, that will change the situation in Angola, for example. It's an ambition, yeah. And when I get there, oh, this is what I'm going to do when I get there. Do this and do this and do this and do this and do this. You know, I'm going to do this. So it's not ambition like it's just pure ambition, naked ambition, but rather an ambition to like I want to get to that place so that I can use it to do this. Where else? What could be the motivation for dreams? Problem solving. You're just a problem. You see a problem. You say, why is this problem like this? What's this problem? I want to solve this problem. I want to solve this problem. Why is this problem? I know I have to solve this problem. So that can be the solution. And then a dream can also emanate from a situation that you yourself have gone through. For example, there's a lady who did so much work in Nigeria, and she became renowned worldwide. She was called Dr. Dora Akumi. She was the first person who set up what's called Nigerian Food and Drugs Administration, and NAFDAC, Nigerian Food and Drugs Administration. You know, and that woman did incredible work. She was recognized by the United Nations, and her model became a pattern for many countries. What was her passion? Her twin sister died from poor substandard medical drugs. So that was, and so on that basis, when she I don't know how it is, but somehow she became the leader, the director general of that unit in Nigeria. Wow, she set the thing up incredibly well. You know, just coming from anger, from what the problems she went through herself, seeing her younger sister die because of substandard drugs, medical drugs. So, bad drugs that people were selling. So she was annoyed with it. And when she got the opportunity, she changed. So anger, her anger, or sometimes we call it holy anger, a good anger. Sometimes it's also compassion, like Mother Teresa. She saw the poor, the destitute, on the streets of Calcutta in India, and she wants to carry passion, and she spent the rest of her life just on that issue of life. Incredible. It can also be from a place of replication. I just see something somewhere. You see a beautiful thing somewhere. You see something running so well, you want to replicate it. If you read the story of Peter the Great, the Tsar of Russia. The Tsar of Russia, you call it Peter the Great because he was one that transformed Russia in those days. Russia was already an empire in the east of Europe, in eastern side of Europe, but they were poor. They were not very modernized. So when he was the prince, before he took over from his father, he was a prince. He went for a season for some years to go and live in Amsterdam and also visited London. So when he was there, he saw the beauty of many things over there. So when he became Tsar, the emperor, he began to replicate most of what he saw in the western part of Europe. For example, he created a new city. The city we call St. Petersburg today. It was a brand new city developed by Peter the Great as a replica of Amsterdam. As a replica of Amsterdam, he visits the beauty along the river, the canals. That was how he saw something beautiful elsewhere. He said, I must go and replicate it in my country. And that was how he developed the whole country. That's why they call it Peter the Great, because he moved that country straight forward, because he saw something and he wanted to replicate it. So this is, and then a dream can also, all of these things, if they are done very well, and for good purposes, actually a manifestation of God's character. God wants everything to be better, to be good, but it can also be from the sense of you got a dream, and that dream, for example, I give an example, Constantine, Emperor Constantine of the Roman Empire, the Emperor of the Roman Empire, who became the first Christian. He himself, he had a dream when he became emperor of the Roman Empire. There were two contending emperors. Him and another were contending. Were two emperors contending for to be one emperor. And then at point in time when both of their two governments went to war, and they were going to that war. His mother was already a Christian. His sister was already a Christian. But in those days, for the first 200 years of Christianity was not allowed in the Roman Empire. They were persecuted, in trouble, and all else. But this man had one night before the battle, he had in that dream, he saw the cross. He saw the cross in the dream, and then he saw himself making a commitment to God. If God gives him victory, and he becomes the sole emperor of Rome, he will serve God. He will turn that empire to become a Christian empire. And that's so when he woke up in the morning, they were going to battle, he changed the standard. The standard of the Roman Empire was always the evil. But when he was after that dream and he saw the cross in his dream, he called everybody. He called his army. They changed all the standard. They turned into a cross and they went into battle. That battle he won and he became the sole emperor of the whole empire. That's how that man went wide for God, transformed the whole empire into Christian empire. And did so much, laws and everything did. That man did that. Constantine the Great, truly. So his dream was out of both a problem he was going to fight, and the winner of that fight will become the sole emperor, and the others obviously that one will be killed and he was out. And so in that encounter, and of course, perhaps the stories of his mother and his sister were the Christians and got to him and their prayers, finally had an encounter with God, and that was how his dream came. So dreams can come from anywhere, but just make sure you dream and you have big dreams. And it's good, but it's not good enough. You know many people who have had dreams, but nothing came out of their dreams. That is necessary to I will translate dreams into reality. The things that can make us dream. One more out of line. You are hungry for something. Your pain can be. I hope you can hear me now. Hello.
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, all right. So problems, ambition, set of unpleasant situations, compassion, desire for excellence, all of these things can make us dreamers. Okay. So, but then there is something that needs to transform those dreams into reality. So there's a bridge for dreams to become reality. There's a bridge. Otherwise, dreams will just remain dreams, just be fanciful ideas. You can talk about it, but nothing comes out of it. But there is something there's a bridge we need to build that will then transform dreams into reality. So what are those dreams? What are those bridges? What are the bridge that transforms a dream into reality? Talk about clarity, agenda, a plan, the clarity and agenda. You need to transform that to have an agenda, to have a plan, to produce that dream into reality. Just like you said, in a coalition, the team, a group of dream chasers to chase that dream. We need hard work, wisdom, you need wisdom, to how to, you need special help, you need persistence. So these are the things, I'm just summarizing them in brief. But there are also things that kill dreams. No matter how big that dreams, there are also things that kill dreams, dream killers. What is the number of them? Laziness. Laziness. If you are going to produce something with your dream, you have to work hard. Lack of ownership, whether that dream is your own or your guy's own, or your leader's own. If you don't own that dream, if you don't own it like your own, it will not go far. Joseph super owned Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh did not ask him for advice. He told him to with the dream, but he owned it so much. He was so captivated by it. And wow, what a great dream! What is also a great challenge that he has given to this Pharaoh. And then he owned it and began to take responsibility for it. An unwillingness to change will kill dreams. Lack of momentum, energy, force consistently growing. Unrealisticness, lack of planning, lack of focus, easy giving up, all of these things destroy and kill dreams. And then, of course, above all else, you need unity of purpose among those who are concerned. So let's take this further. So you need to create, you need to be able to create, to conceive and consolidate of a world beyond from today. You need to consolidate a world different from today. So in all of these areas you have seen, you mentioned in your nations, you need to go further. You need to conceive a world that what you are saying. You see security, what can the future look like? Dream it and then you now have an agenda towards it. So dreams are a means of exchange. By dreams, you exchange the present for the future. Dreams are a means of transformation and communion. Those who rule the world, they are dreamers. They dominate. And then the dreams are a picture of what is this meant. So this is what. So picture the strong desire that Martin Luther said, "I have a dream." And what's interesting about this? When he made that speech, it's very to say that what he said that day he knows for what he said that day. It was not there. He did not plan to say what he now said, "I have a dream." He did not plan it. He was not in his notes. He hadn't notes what he was to say. But when he was talking, one of his companion, one of his people, he now shouted, "Give us your dream." Because you see, in a quiet place with his team, he's telling them, "I have this kind of dream, I have this kind of dream." So that day he was speaking, organized. Someone shouted, one of his people, "Don't, Martin, give us the dream, give us that dream that we've spoken about this." And that's when he now says, he says, speaking extra prayer, "I have a dream." And he came from what was already inside. Those around him in the quiet place in the room have heard about it. And the day it mattered so much, somebody prompted him from the team around him on that pulpit, on that platform. He says, "Share that dream, Martin. Share that dream, Martin." And then he just took over and started speaking. And that is what the world remembers him for today, because it was already inside. It wasn't manufactured. It was something that was embodied from him and it came up. So all great people are great dreamers. And one dream can carry you for life, can carry a man for life. So think about that. So what do you have to do to translate a dream into an agenda? You see, what we're talking about is most of the leaders in your continent have no dreams. For most of them, the dream is just to get into office. That's the essence of their dream. They have no dream, no passion. So you can begin to, from this agenda now, you can use this also as a measure to see what they have done, and then you then use it as a measure. So you think about your leaders now. How many of them can tell you, which of them do you think you can talk about their dream? I know this leader, he has his dream every day. So if you're going to transform your dream into reality, you must talk dream. You must talk about someone, talk about the dream. So you must chase the dream that is running for sure. You must watch out for opportunities to do. Like I just gave you an example now of how Martin Luther King Jr., that speech he made, it wasn't planned. But somebody who had heard about it, so he just spoke to him and said, hey, Martin talked about that dream. So opportunity came and let's speak in extra power. Then you must surprise yourself and your leader by what you do. So Joseph surprised Pharaoh. They're talking about how to solve the plan and everything else. And Pharaoh was like, wow. He asked all the people, is there anybody like this man? That's people who answer this problem. He didn't care that they were Joseph was an Egyptian. He didn't care that he was a foreigner. He was a prisoner. He was just overwhelmed. So what else? Dreams don't last unless you outlast them. In other words, you must see that dream come to pass and then you outlast it. Dreams are progressive. So there's no way where you can ever have, you say all my dreams are finished. No, they're progressive. There will be different levels of manifestation. So for example, the Black American, African Americans, they are still part of a large part of Martin Luther King's dream having fulfilled, particularly by Obama becoming president, but there's still so much left to do. You saw how this man was killed, Floyd. So there's still work to be done. It's not finished. But it's progressive. Keep on one level after another. Dream excites people, energize people. Now you need to become a dreamer. And then you also need dream chasers to help you to fulfill that dream, not for yourself, but for the. So I love what this Zoe Santa Marta said. It starts with a dream. Add faith. If you add faith to a dream, it becomes a belief. If you add action to the belief, it was a dream, there's a faith. And if you add action to it, it becomes part of your life because you are doing action to it. If you add perseverance, that means consistent action. Patiently, it becomes a goal. You can see. I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to get there one day. Keep on action. You can see yourself reaching there. And if you add patience and time, then the dream comes true. Patience and time. So this is a model, for. Okay. I hope somebody else gets his dream right now. Now, from the story of Joseph, I've sort of created almost like a step process. How do in terms of how did Joseph come to be? This is the pattern that everybody has. It started with a passionate dream. There was a faith motivation. There was an outline of an implementation plan within the dream. So Joseph got an implementation plan within from his own dream. 7 years. Then he came up with a plan. And then Pharaoh saw a man that was going to chase his dream for him and gave him the authority. And then Joseph went out and began to take action, consistent action to bring that plan, the dream, the plan to reality. he began to do that. And then, he led this action and, followed it. That dream was well communicated. And then, of course, he had to get a team together to go buy into that dream and work hard in the dream and to see it. There's consistent and spiritual act. So this is the pattern. I'm going to go very quickly now, so time. Now, most of the time, the difference between the dream that come true and the one that didn't come true is the person who didn't give up. The one who wins is somebody who has a dream and pursues it with consistent passion. That person. Right. Famous dreamers, we talked about that already. William Wilberforce. He had a dream to bring the slave trade to an end, the abolition of slave trade. And interestingly, he had it when he was going to politics, to become a member of parliament. He said it. He has two assignments from God. So number one is to bring slave trade to an end, and secondly to improve public morals. That were the things. And it took him nearly 40 years, about 40 years, not just in the number of others around him. And their pastor was Newton, who wrote that poem, Amazing Grace. That was a pastor for that group of dream chasers. And they did it. And eventually, towards the end of his life, slavery was actually abolished. So he got into public office with that dream. Yeah, so dream alone is not enough. I love what T. Long said, all men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in industrial recess of their minds wake up in the day to find with vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act on their dream with open eyes and make them pursue. So dreaming is not enough. We need people who can change things. Okay, so the agenda is a practical bridge of plan between dreams and genuine love. The agenda is what changes that. So this was what William Wilberforce. You can see his statements from there. You can see his dream. He says, God Almighty has set before me two great objects: the suppression of slave trade and the formation of manners. The institute of Emma to promote the habits of the scripture to the utmost of his power. It is. If it's to be feeling alive to the softness of my it to be a fanatic, I'm one of the most incredible fanatics about permitted of the at large. That was his dream. Dream. Wilberforce introduced you to a great dreamer who actually saw his dream come to pass. Look at all he was saying. It says a private faith that does not act in physical oppression is not forgotten. Here was a man putting his faith in action. Hallelujah. Oh, this is nice. It's exciting. I find it very exciting. And look at Martin Luther King Jr. He says, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live at the throne of his glory. Self-evident that all men are created equal. I was privileged some years back to go to Atlanta, and although I had just 24 hours there, to see a family, my wife and I were in the States, and the family was going through challenge. We had to stop by and see them. In the few hours we have left for going to the aircraft, center to just transform. I also encourage you, if you ever get the opportunity to go there. So what's most like a question of what are you doing for others? That is your passion. What are you doing for others? And then there is a so what are you doing for others? And then they talk about what are others going to do? What are others going to do? So it's your own turn. And you see many pictures of what the movement that him and the others created. It wasn't just him alone, but it was the arrowhead for it. Look at the impact, the story of what they did. What they did. So that's it's interesting that some of the greatest people have made the change in what they've been motivated by the church. Okay. So I love this. Many protesters kept up their spirit by singing. The freedom songs they created as a mash blended African American gospel music, contemporary hymns, and lyrics. In this way, they reminded themselves of the joyful purpose and make their passion worthwhile. So faith is so strong. Oh, of course, you need values. Look at these values: integrity, dedication, Look at his statements. When your character is built on spiritual and moral foundation, your contagious way of life will influence millions. Sacrifice, so you're sacrificing devotion to your purpose in life, and your faith will carry you through times of difficulties. Those were the things that he did. Destiny, the choices that you make in life, what made it your destiny. So some of the statements he made. Genuine leaders have the ability to articulate, initiate, and follow through on their vision. You have to follow through. Yeah. And then talk about his wife. You can't do this alone. You need people around you. And in his own case, his wife was one of the greatest. So as I said, she saw the greatness of the movement, and you need to suffice as a police situation. If I've done anything this strong, all this person I had behind me at my side, devoted, understanding. Finding the person. Yeah, so I do encourage you, if you ever go to Atlanta, go to that center. And my dream is that one of these days, all of us in Song, we would go and spend a week camp, training. Actually, we plan next year by God's grace, God giving all of us 2023, we'll go to Atlanta. Some will go to Atlanta for a week long. So yeah, that's it's beautiful, overwhelming to be in front of that place. And the church actually is a church. It's this church, the Ebenezer Street Baptist Church, which has now become the center. The government finally took over the church. It's now a center where people must study, and they built a massive church for the church that got a bigger place, and then they built this center around it, a huge center all over the world. So this is the old church. From this church, great, they changed the world. It's incredible. Yeah, so that's where I stopped today. Now, quickly, we have a few minutes. I'm going to ask everyone just to play back what you have heard today, what you are living with today. Yes, please. Just I don't know, even when I'm excited, just going through this, I'm excited. I'm feeling energized to get that one. I want to fly again. Praise God. So let's start. Gary, let's start from you. What are you taking away from what's in your spirit?
All right, so I understand clearly that dreams goes both ways. There are positive dreams and there are not really negative dreams, but we like call them compromising dreams. And we should know the extent to which our dreams can affect not just ourselves, but our immediate and external environment. So I learned that in achieving or in working towards our dreams, we should consider so many things in place because of the great effect a dream can have in our lives now, and what have you.
Good. Thank you so much. You go to Dari. Ayodeji Dari. Can we hear from you?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So basically from my end, see with regards to the dreams, I feel your dreams align with your purpose per se. So whatever you dream of, whatever your passion is, that should be your purpose. So I feel over time, most of us don't even have dreams. So when we don't have dreams, we simply don't have purpose and we're just working as the day goes by. So that's my take.
Good. So let's go on to Elizabeth.
So what I learned today was that dreamers rule the world for good or for bad. And I hope I hope I'm a good person. So I'll dream for good. And also I learned that dreams can be trampled upon. Dreams can be squashed if not put into action. So that's what I basically learned today.
Roots. What do you hear about? So now,
Thank you, sir. So one of the interesting aspects I caught here is the dream catchers. Is it chasers or catchers? The catchers,
Dream
yes.
catchers,
Those,
yes.
yeah, those that stand on or lean on the leaders. I used to see that as, I couldn't really find a definition for that. Excuse me. And when Dr. Mark said it, I was like, this is it. I've been thinking about it because standing on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead, particularly serving, because you are pursuing something that you cannot really understand, but it looked like they are going towards the same direction. So that was a great one for me, a great pick. But I'd really say that for dreams, again, linked with purpose. Purpose can only be found in God, obviously, but we need to keep chasing and we need to keep finding those things that we can probably have the zeal to solve. So in this case, I have a dream to solve some things that I think are quite strange. You maybe solve a situation in a community or a situation in a nation, but I believe that looking at what mentors have gone ahead to do are doing can be a way to sustain the dream. So that's my take for today. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So for us in Song, we are pursuing a dream, a big dream. Of course, everybody find their own opportunities to see. We call it success of nations and government, just as name is. Our dream is to see successful nations and governments in Africa, not where they are right now. Almost general picture, the total picture is not success, not so fulfilled or effective governments, generally speaking. But our dream is to see. So we're going to do our own sort of ways, to get that in. And I like what we said about to see your dreams should be linked to your purpose. Through your dream, you find your purpose, and through your purpose, you develop a dream. And then dream catchers, I give you an illustration like Caleb and Joshua. Caleb and Joshua, they eventually Joshua had and Caleb, after the 12 foot I was saying, the 12 spied. And most of you know the Bible as a business administration. 10 said they didn't have a dream about the promised land. We can't get the promised land because those people are too big, the giants there. But those two, they caught that, where they catch the dream from Moses. Moses has been telling them, God has given us a promised land. And all of that. So that became a dream for those two young men. And eventually they were the only two of that generation who could enter the promised land because they caught the dream from Moses and it became their own. And so eventually when Moses passes on, Joshua is not the one told, by God, he's not the one to go and get these people into the promised land. So dream catchers. So thank you so much. The assignments we're going to have for next week, on Saturday, I'm not the one teaching. Ayo Shotel will be speaking, but I would like the assignment and I would like you to put it into the chat room. And so at some point in time, next time I'm coming, many weeks from now, that was to this number one. Again, write down all the standard. What have you learned from today? Reflection. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to communicate it? And then I want you to pick up a dream out of those many things you talk about. I want you to pick up a dream. One or two dreams concerning, develop a dream concerning all of these areas talk about. Just choose one area, whether for your local government or maybe one sector in your country or the country you're interested in, security or this or that, or just choose and then develop a dream, a picture around it, and then begin to talk about how you are going to what are you going to do about that dream. So that's where I stop today. Thank you so much. And the Lord bless you all. The Lord increase you and the Lord use you. May you allow the Lord to use you for greatness. So I pray in Jesus' name.
Amen.